While I have a near endless amount of complaints to make against the sniper class, I have quite a lot of love for it as well. Prepare yourself for quite a few hot takes about the soon-to-be worst class, and how you can make sure it stays viable going forward. Ultimately, my criticisms can be boiled down into three overarching points. Most of the weapons are noob traps. Most of the perks don't even help with being a marksman, and the class shouldn't even be called sniper in the first place. It's been plagued by an ongoing identity crisis since launch, and the introduction of the Tech Marine is only making things worse. I know, that's a big pill to swallow, and while I don't blame anybody for falling for this poor design, I think it's important that sniper mains, or anyone who wants to get into the class, be aware of just how deceptively crafted it is. I'll go over specific perks and interactions towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for the designated build guide. But even if you are just trying to follow the guide, there's quite a bit of context y'all need if you want to play this class effectively. So, to get down to my first major complaint, yes, all three of the designated marksman rifles, plus the scoped carbine variants, are noob traps. I know the class is literally called sniper, but the last thing you want to do in this game is actually run one of the sniper rifles. First off, just by using a scope, you're being encouraged to maintain a longer distance away from the enemies, and as a result, you often end up distancing yourself from allies as well. Not only is separating yourself from the group a good way to get jumped, or accidentally summon enemy reinforcements, it makes reviving you much more difficult should you be overwhelmed. And let's make one thing clear. The sniper does not have the strength to go blow for blow with anyone stronger than a Zangor. Now, on top of encouraging you to separate yourself from the team in order to use your weapon in the first place, the sniper's weapons have another hidden nerf that ruins far more runs than anyone cares to admit. Being scoped in and actually sniping at enemies leaves you with tunnel vision, which can easily lead to you being overrun. This flaw is partly on fault of the players who think if only they squeeze off one more shot everything will be okay, but it also falls on the poor design of the scope HUD. Talk to any marksman and they'll tell you themselves to shoot with both eyes open, specifically because maintaining tunnel vision is a good way to get jumped. Having the scope HUD block out well over half of the screen is straight up retarded, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't care about your video game logic. It's a retarded design, and if I were to be charitable, it's poor balancing at best. Anyways, enemy aggro is a bit funky in this game, and they don't always lock on to the closest player. They often run some kind of behind-the-scenes threat analysis thing, and often, if they're not actively engaged in melee combat, they'll end up redirecting their attacks to the most threatening player, who is usually the one putting out the highest DPS. As a sniper, especially when running headshot multipliers, it's virtually guaranteed that any enemies in combat who aren't already tied down will end up targeting you, specifically because of the amount of overkill damage you're doing. Do you really expect to notice the swarms of enemies approaching on your flanks when you're scoped in on the couple of enemies your battle brothers are already fighting half a room away? Another point that seems to be lost on a lot of the community is the fact that the role of a DMR sniper in this game is to single out the highest priority threats, namely whatever extremist enemies happen to spawn. While this is definitely useful, it becomes the sole identity of many snipers in the game, and though I'm sorry I have to break it to them, the incoming Tech Marine and his shoulder-mounted las gun or plasma incinerator or whatever else you can throw on that bad boy is going to be able to do that exact same job. And that's on top of having access to his turrets, his two-handed melee prowess, and his sidearm. The sniper is losing his identity to a defense-oriented generalist. Let that sink in. Alright, so the scoped weapons are a trap, but there must be some way to work around this problem. That's what I thought early on into playing the sniper, so I started to research a bit. I found out pretty quickly that there are actually a ton of weapon perks specifically for the carbines that increase accuracy. In fact, if you try to optimize your guns with that as your priority, you can end up with over 100% accuracy buff just from the gun perks. With the right character perks, you can boost your accuracy by nearly another 50%. With just a few exceptions, these benefits largely apply to both hip firing as well as aiming down sights. After experimenting with both carbines, I found that the Instigator was slightly more accurate while aiming down sights than it was in hip fire mode, and the standard bolt carbine was much more accurate in hip fire mode than it was while properly aiming. I think both weapons will do the trick depending on your specific preferences, so long as you don't select the weapon variants that come with a scope. You will need the visibility and higher rate of fire. Personally, I think this class and the way I've optimized it works best when you hip fire the standard bolt carbine, but to each their own. So long as you're making the effort to distinguish yourself and your playstyle from the soon-to-be replaced role of sniper, you'll be prepared to continue playing this class as the game evolves. So, you've heard the case for changing the gameplay loop, and you've gotten some tidbits of what's going on under the hood. You're probably thinking it's time to talk about the perks in depth.
False! Incorrect! Wrong answer!
First, we have to take a little diversion and talk about the class ability, the Camo Line Cloak. Activate your special ability and you'll turn invisible. You'll still be kind of visible to your allies, but enemies will be completely blind to your presence. This doesn't mean that you're invulnerable though, at least not without the right prestige perk. I'm tailoring this video towards endgame build, so I'm just going to assume that you have the maximum everything, or you'll come back when you do. Namely, I'm assuming that your weapons are fully ranked and your character is at prestige level 4. Let's say you're trying to play like a designated sniper. How many perks will you have at your disposal that actually aid in performing that role? We're looking for accuracy buffs, damage boosts, and threat management. Out of the core perks, we have 4 damage boosts, 1 perk that only works with the lasgun, 1 melee damage buff, a perk that only works with carbines, and 2 clearly designated support perks. We can only select 3 out of the selection of 9, and the choices are balanced by being grouped together in such a way that you can only take 1 perk from each group. These are the core abilities of the class, and even if you optimize it for being a sniper, your best build option gives you functionally infinite ammo and a 40% damage boost while standing still. Not a bad core build, all things considered. Let's see how the team perks play out. Team perks, as the name suggests, not only apply to the whole team, but are supposed to help the whole team. 2 out of the 3 perks on options strictly apply to headshots, which are something really only the sniper focuses on hitting, so they really aren't team perks. The clearly correct team perk still isn't all that great, but at least it benefits the whole team. Now, all of the gear perks are focused around using the camo cloak, which makes sense, but some of them are obviously better than others. After all, who in their right mind is going to pick a movement speed and free reload, or the 1 equipment refund perk, when doing so means you skip on the free medkit perk? I'm not going to waste my time explaining why most of these are trash. None of them directly or really indirectly help the sniper snipe. They mostly feel like filler because the devs needed to add a few specific perks to make the class viable and wanted to present an illusion of choice. At the very least, all 3 signature perks are unique and feel interesting while adding their own unique flair to the gameplay. Sure. That rant was a bit long-winded, but my point should be clear. As far as the perks are concerned, playing the sniper class as a sniper is unfulfilling. Most of your perks go towards your own survivability, and what benefits you do get in combat are negligible. Now, honestly, I think all of the prestige perks are viable for different playstyles, but none of them actually impact the sniper rifle. They're all about survivability, and that's all I really have to say about them for now. Before I dive into what perks and gameplay loop changes I recommend making, I mentioned that the sniper is an ill-fitting name for the class, and I called the class design as a whole deceptive. I don't think the devs did that on purpose. If anything, I think they felt like they needed a class called Sniper, and they just did a poor job of planning the class out beyond that. I think they know this as well, since all of the prestige perks increase the sniper's survivability, which frees up core and equipment perks for other things. Honestly, I might just be a raging autist, but I can't think of any better way of putting this other than in RPG-friendly terms. No, in World of Warcraft-friendly terms. Sniper should have been called Rogue, and his party role is what's called a dodge tank. As a dodge tank, your job is to manage enemy aggro, like a real tank, without actually taking any damage or needing any heals. So, instead of hiding behind a bulwark's shield or utilizing the assault's knockback and maneuverability, a rogue tank should be right at the edge of the fray and on the opposite side of the enemy from his teammates. While in that position, consistently pop in and out of visibility as needed so that your enemies waste more time running back and forth than they do actually attacking you or your teammates. The reason this only works with the carbines is so that you can put a high number of bullets into specific enemies without the need to waste time and mobility on a scope. You don't need to do enough damage to kill, just enough to get their attention back on you and off of your team. As with most subclasses, the specific perks I use is what makes this so effective. As with my build, you end up maximizing the invisibility cloak's effective duration without spending the charge. Essentially, you want to earn as much free time while invisible as possible without spending any of the resource associated with using the invisibility. This way, you can maintain having a cloak ready to go at any time, and honestly, considering that activating the cloak immediately after taking damage is your primary way of healing, you're going to want that cloak available at all times. Don't take stims or guardian relics from teammates who can't heal themselves when you can. To summarize my points before getting into the build itself, calling the class Sniper is a massive noob trap, and you should be thinking about the class as a rogue instead. Load up on mid-range assault rifles and perks that increase accuracy, and get used to hitting lots of dodges and parries. There's a lot of nuance to get caught up in with how everything ends up interacting, but I'll try to keep things direct. Going from left to right with our perk selection, we have Medicae Adept, a buff to reviving down teammates faster. What it does in actuality is make it so you can revive a player in the same amount of time that you have with the free invisibility on the cloak. This ultimately will save you more than half of your cloak's charge, since you're deactivating the cloak much earlier than you would otherwise, while still reaping the benefits of being invisible while reviving a teammate. High capacity increases maximum ammo reserve, that's pretty self-explanatory. Dexterous Hands gives us a decrease to reload time and an accuracy buff, which are both huge. The accuracy buff helps, but the decreased reload time makes it so that you can reload your weapon as a way of deactivating invisibility and remain invisible throughout the duration of the reload. Again, we are maximizing the invisibility cloak's effectiveness. Precision targeting gives a team-wide accuracy and damage buff against the hardest enemies in game, making those priority targets much easier to deal with all around. Purification is your self-heal. Basically, whenever you take damage, the first thing you need to do is activate the cloak. It literally just solves problems. Guardian Protocol helps in managing crowds around an already down teammate, and synergizes unbelievably well with some of the other perks in the selection. Specifically, because of the 2 free seconds of invisibility after deactivating the cloak, you can end up getting upwards of 13 free seconds of invisibility split between you and the teammate you revive. It's a huge play whenever you get it off, and my god does it feel good. Lingering Concealment is one of the 2 linchpin perks that really push this build above and beyond what it has any right of being capable of. The way it's described is the player gets 2 seconds of free invisibility without spending the cloak's charge after they disengage their invisibility. How it actually plays out is you become an untouchable god, smiting every disgusting mortal swine that crosses your path without them even becoming slightly aware of your presence! As for the signature perk, I go with Evasion because getting free invisibility after a dodge is like having a second charge of the cloak ready at all times. Even if it doesn't activate the heal from Purification, it's an excellent tool for repositioning yourself if you wind up getting surrounded by a mob. For our prestige perks, like I said before, they all aid in survivability, and each one serves a slightly different playstyle, though I still have recommendations. No matter what else you pick, Emperor's Grace is a must-have as it grants you temporary invulnerability. Yes, literally a 100% damage reduction and immunity to knockback upon activating the cloak. This is truly the other linchpin of the build, a literal must-have. Effectively, what this does is ensure that even if you're in a pinch and activate the cloak to heal, you won't end up being damaged again by an attack that's now not even directed at you. After that, I also like Versatile Precision because I run the Inferno Pistol as my sidearm, and it's just comedically easy to get 10 plus Minoris enemy kills with a couple of close range shots from it. Meaning, if your carbine of choice is low on ammo, it will no longer be low on ammo. It's free ammo. Like, a shit ton of free ammo. So definitely take that one as well. I won't insist on anything for the last two prestige perks, as each person is going to favor different ones and it doesn't really affect the build. Though, if you want to follow my design to the letter, pick Indomitable Spirit and Exacting Focus, since you will be spending a lot of time gun striking enemies, and not getting interrupted while you do so helps. Now, just to go over the weapon perks, prioritize accuracy above all, then go for increased magazine size and stockpile. With the Inferno Pistol, you want as much range as possible, so when you do get right up next to a mob of Minoris enemies, your shots will actually penetrate to the back of the group. Focus on increasing its effective range and take whatever else you need along the way. Now on to the knife. You're probably not going to use it all that much, except for parries and the occasional charge attack to farm armor. It really doesn't matter what you pick so long as they're perks you'll utilize. For me, I do like to use the knife a little bit when I'm trying to conserve ammo, so I went with the perks that buff its AoE attack. Oh boy, that was a lot. I think I deserve to let loose a little bit after all that. Alright, so we got these Terminators aggroed on us, and you see how when the second sword strike came in, I didn't take any damage or knockback? That's the dodge tank. That's the dodge tank right there. Anywho, we're gonna let this Vanguard take care of the Hellbrute and shit for a while. I gotta get our Tactical Marine back up. Get that nice free invisibility. Back to the Terminators. We gotta take these boys out. When you're fighting Hellbrutes or any health bar tier enemy, you don't want to damage them too much too fast, because every time they hit 50%, they'll spawn a wave on top of the wave that spawns when they first come in. So, I think there's a Sorcerer in this fight somewhere as well, but in the first wave, we got the Hellbrute, 2 Termies, and I think there was a Sorcerer in the fight that I didn't come into contact with. Everyone's doing a good job of holding the Hellbrute back. We took care of his spawn wave. Boom. A little note about the Cloak's recharge mechanic. You can't infinitely spam it doing this strategy. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but essentially every time you activate the Cloak in a short amount of time, it makes the Cloak's recharge slightly slower each time up to a point. Yeah, we gotta take down this Terminator. But anyways, the best way to manage the Cloak's recharge is to get executions while it's recharging. The execution itself gives you a bonus, and it gives you time, essentially while invulnerable, doing the execution animation, to let the Cloak charge as well. Got a gun strike waiting for me on the Hellbrute. See, that was a bit finicky. I think the Hellbrute kind of overlapped with the 2-second invulnerability and ended up giving me knockback and a little bit of damage, but it's whatever. We took it down. No harm, no foul. To wrap this video up, I'm gonna spell everything out as blunt as possible just one last time. Throw a few more tips at you. Sniper is a hyper-aggressive frontline shooter, borderline a tank, whose main job is to flank enemy hordes and hold them in place without taking any damage himself. He will be called Rogue from now on. The Rogue's main priority is aggro management. The one time this isn't his priority is when a teammate is downed, in which case the Rogue should be the one to revive the teammate, while the third player simply needs to survive. Party composition built with a rogue tank in mind should focus on providing a stalwart defensive line to act as an anvil upon which the rogue's hammer strikes. A bulwark and tactical marine pair nicely, though Vanguard and Heavy are also quite good.